Tonight on Blue Mondays. Teachers take to the Capitol, fight for their jobs, while Republicans shame and try to intimidate them. President Obama and Vice President Biden kick off their re-election fight and come out swinging. And a look at the Democratic candidates on the ballot this Saturday. All this and more tonight on Blue Mondays for March 19th, 2012.
Good evening and welcome to an all-new Blue Mondays. I am your host, Stephen Handwork. Blue Mondays is on the first and the third Mondays of every single month on AOC Channel 1, which is Cox Channel 15 and LUS Channel 3. Blue Mondays, we take a look at local, state, and national news, from a progressive perspective. You can find us on the Facebook at facebook.com/Blue Mondays LA, and you can also follow us on Twitter. I hear we're on Twitter. I don't know how to use it yet. I need some help. Somebody needs to help me with that. But we are at Blue Mondays LA. So please do reach out to us. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to see on the upcoming show. Let's get started. Teachers are swarming to Baton Rouge to protest against the governor's so-called education reform. And it's nothing more than a smoke and mirrors game and a power grab. Honestly, a power grab. Jindal even claims that the vast majority of teachers are doing a great job. I believe he even said 90% of them, which, okay. But his plan punishes everyone equally, taking away some of the most critical things that teachers need so that they have the longevity to want to go into this profession. It's absolutely ridiculous. So let's take a look at just a few of the things that this bill actually does. Okay, we're talking about HB 974 and SB 603. Those are the bill numbers in case you might want to, call a legislator and let them know what you think. But that's up to you. But what it does is, first off, it eliminates state requirements for licensure and certification of teachers. That's exactly right. That means that the teacher in the future, if this bill passes, who's teaching your kid trigonomics, that teacher might not even know or even have gone to school to become a teacher. It could be someone just hired in off the street. Sad day for us if that's what the case is. And it eliminates minimum state salary schedule for teachers in education. That means that local school boards could just choose whatever number. Maybe they'll put up a great big bullseye and they'll throw darts at it to figure out what your wages were going to be. Maybe that's how they'll do it in the future. It eliminates seniority and all reduction of forces decisions. Here's the key reason for that. Most of these individuals actually are on a vestment schedule so that as many years as you put in, the better your retirement package is. So if someone's getting up to almost 20 years and that gets you to almost fully vested, they might decide to go ahead and fire you so that they can then save money on your pension because then you'll only be getting 70% of your benefits. That's why this is so important, or just one of the reasons. It establishes a process which may be open to abuse unless the principals and superintendents establish an objective process rather than an arbitrary hiring process for teachers, since they'll have the sole discretion on employment decisions without any sort of school board approval. That's the thing right now, that if something happens to you and you're a teacher, you have the right to appeal to the school board. This legislation is going to take that right away. Now, I've got to ask my loyal listeners and watchers right now, tell me about any of those things that we just discussed. Those are all the big pieces of this legislation. Tell me how that's going to improve the classroom. How does that improve education? How does that improve the outcomes of your children who go to school? It doesn't. In fact, it actually makes things more hostile for the teachers, and if the teachers are unhappy, how are they going to teach your kids? It's unbelievable. This bill goes on to do some other horrible things. It creates a dismissal process for teachers based on a flawed method of teacher evaluations. If you're in a very difficult area, well, here's the case scenario. Right now with these charter schools that this bill also sets up, these charter schools can actually refuse to take certain students in. Okay? And so if they refuse to take kids in, those kids go to the public schools, okay? Public schools don't have the right to say, you know what, I don't like Billy, so we're going to kick Billy out of my class. He can go to another school. No, teachers don't have that right. They have to teach the children that they are given. And that is the inherent flaw with this whole program that they're trying to do. So most definitely, we need to be standing up for our teachers. A lot of information is available online, especially on our Facebook page. You'll want to check that out. That's facebook.com/Blue Mondays LA. A lot of that information you're going to be able to find on there, and we hope that you do. Next up, here we go again. The Republicans. Okay, first off, Super Tuesday is way past us now, and it was a split decision. No major winners whatsoever, okay? It was utterly horrible for Mitt Romney. I mean, the worst possible thing happened to Mitt Romney that night because Rick Santorum won so many of the states. Okay, so Louisiana is going to vote this Saturday, March 24th, and you should all realize that. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit more as we go on here. But on the ballot for Republicans, obviously you have Santorum, who's leading in all of the polls, okay, here in this state, and we'll talk about him here in a second. Mitt Romney's also on the ballot. Obviously, Newt Gingrich, he's still holding on. And even if he withdraws between now and that Saturday, he's still going to be on the ballot, okay? Although he won't get any delegates if he does withdraw. Ron Paul is also on the ballot. Poor guy. I mean, he's only getting like 6 to 7% in these states, but yet he's still hanging on, still saying he's going to win. Also, too, Republicans will have all of their party people, local and state, as well as the Democrats. Democrats will obviously have the president, who is on the ballot, but with no serious opposition. And then, of course, we have the local leaders and state party officials. So let's go up to next. Santorum. Oh, boy, Santorum. Okay, so Santorum is winning all of the southern states. And by the way, you'll see in this picture, we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, but this is utterly ridiculous. He was here in Lafayette the night that Mississippi and Alabama voted, and Joey Durrell, I guess, endorsed him and introduced him, and also, well, we'll talk about that later. Santorum is, well, just utterly ridiculous. I mean, you know, he is the man-on-dog guy who equates, you know, gay folks to the equivalent of bestiality, I guess. Absolutely unbelievable. He's still having major problems raising any type of money, though. But good thing his billionaire sugar daddy is taking care of him and running all of these crazy super PAC ads that are running all over the place. In fact, we have a few of them for you. Take a look.
Obama's reckless agenda must be stopped, and there's only one principled candidate with the courage to do it. Rick Santorum, father, husband, a champion for life. The leader with a bold plan to restore America's greatness, create dynamic jobs, cut wasteful spending, and reform Washington. Rick Santorum, proven conservative. He's the principled conservative, Rick Santorum, champion, leader, reformer. Rick Santorum is determined and will never waver.
What wins in America are bold ideas, sharp contrasts, and a plan that includes everyone. A plan that includes people from all across the economic spectrum. A plan that says we will work together to get America to work.
Rick Santorum, the conservative we can trust. How can Mitt Romney beat Barack Obama when on the vital decisions they're not much different? Like Obama, Romney drastically increased spending, increased state taxes and fees. Even worse, Romney Care is the blueprint for Obamacare. Who can win? Rick Santorum, the principled leader who's fought against big government with a bold plan to create jobs and cut wasteful spending. Rick Santorum for president.
True conservative, the principled conservative. How many different descriptors are they going to put in front of conservative to make this work? It's unbelievable. Yeah, you know what? Rick Santorum probably would have made a great president in 1852. It seems that the only thing voters like about Santorum is that he's not Mitt Romney. The evangelicals will certainly vote for him as he is their leader, but principled conservatives, they've got to have a hard time with this guy. This guy is a strong supporter of union rights. He voted for the bridge to nowhere. He loves earmarks and pork barrel spending, and he's far, far, far from a fiscal conservative. The issue women have with him is his direct opposition to the pill and all forms of birth control. He calls them evil. Okay. Independents are going to have a very hard time going with him because of his whole man-on-dog thing. It's worth noting that 60% of Pennsylvania voters actually voted against him when he was up for re-election to the Senate because he's so far out of the mainstream. Anyhow, let's move on. Romney, Thurston Howell III. Cheesy grits, y'all! This man is unbelievable, pandering everywhere he can go. But he's about breaking even now with Santorum and all these states with the votes that he needs come their convention. It looks to me like it's going to be a brokered convention down there in Tampa, but that doesn't stop him from pandering here in the South. Let's take a look at the clip of Mitt talking about his grits, y'all.
This guy I see every day, time after time after time, and this is a guy from Mississippi, and his name is Garrett Jackson. Come over here, Garrett. Just wave over here. 4 years at Ole Miss. and so he is now turning me into an unofficial Southerner, and I'm learning to say y'all, and I like grits, and strange things are happening to me.
Unbelievable. Mitt seems poised to lose here in Louisiana this coming weekend. Let's go on to Ron Paul. Poor Ron Paul. I mean, come on. I guess he's still in the race. We haven't heard or seen much from him at all. He's failing to even place in the most recent states. Now, most of the states have a threshold that you have to reach at least 15% to even get one delegate assigned to you. He's not even reaching threshold anymore. So he's not getting any delegates in any of these states. The handwriting should be on the wall. You know, he needs to probably get out of this and let Rick Santorum just mess it up for a while. That'd be great. All right, moving on. Gingrich. Can't forget about Gingrich. He's still holding on, and it's looking worse for him each and every day. Fighting back calls for him to withdraw. He's certainly fighting back calls for him to withdraw, especially by the RNC chairman now is asking for him to withdraw. Can't get much better. Can't get much worse than when that starts happening. So it's only going to get worse for good old Gingrich. He's only won 2 states. One of them is home state of Georgia, and he basically came in 3-way ties with Santorum on top in the 2 other southern states. His own argument was he had to win all the southern states, so it's not working for him. How long is he going to be in the race? Nobody knows. The March 24th elections. The Republican primary here in the state, obviously that's going to be going on, and a lot of attention will be focused there. More Republicans are expected to be out and voting. Democrats, though, probably not nearly as much. The Democratic primaries there, obviously the president is on the ballot. And there's other folks that we talked about before, but I wanted to remind you of the list of folks that I personally am supporting here in the party elections. So let's start with the local party candidates first. All right, so we've got Haywood, Woody Martin, for those of us who know him. He goes by Woody. He's a great guy. He's in District 6 here in the local area. So if you're in City Parish Council District 6, you can vote for Woody if you like. We also have Barbara Connor, who's a really good friend of mine, has been for years. She's the one that got me involved with AOC, so you can blame her. She's in District 8 and looking for your votes. The at-large candidates that I am voting for, here are the ones, you can actually vote for up to 5, but here are the 4 that I am voting for myself. And that's Mike Stagg. He was the one that actually ran, was the only one who had the courage to stand up and run against Joey Durrell. Portia Evans Wilson, she's a longtime radio host and also a host of shows here on AOC. And Elroy Broussard and Lester Gauthier. Those are the candidates that round out the local ballot. Let's look at the state ballot. Okay, so you know what? There we go again. Portia Evans, our good friend, is running there in District 96 for Seat A. That's the newly created district that runs from Lafayette all the way down to New Iberia. So if you're in that district, Portia's looking for some votes from you. District 44, Seat B, that's Jolan Jolivet. He's an amazing organizer. He's a young guy. He's in college. He's a really great guy, and he worked a lot to help Stephen Ortego in his election. District 43B, Seat B, that is Jonathan Irvin. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's seeking your votes for District 43. And District 45, that's me, Stephen Handwerk. I'm looking for your votes. So hopefully you will go and turn out and vote on Election Day. President Obama's team is starting its campaign up. First up, this past Thursday, the president's team released a 17-minute mini documentary narrated by Tom Hanks. Pretty impressive if you can get it, that lays out and defines what has happened since the president has taken over, since he was elected, and what's going to be happening in the future. We've got the preview trailer clip for you to watch, so take a look at it.
How do we understand this president and his time in office? Do we look at the day's headlines? Or do we remember what we, as a country, have been through?
The president-elect is here in Chicago, and he's named the members of the economic team, and they all fly in for the first big briefing on the economy.
What was described in that meeting was an economic crisis beyond anything anybody had imagined.
Our time of standing pat, protecting narrow interests and putting off unpleasant decisions, that time has surely passed.
His advisors would ask where to begin. Which urgent need would he put first?
Which is 1, which is 2, which is 3, which is 4, which is 5? Where do you start?
If we don't do this now, it will be a generation before 30 million people have health insurance.
If the auto industry goes down, what happens to America's manufacturing base? What happens to jobs in America? What happens to the whole Midwest?
The entire national security apparatus was in that room, and now we had to make a decision, go or not go. As he walked out the room, it dawned on me, he's all alone. This is his decision. Nobody is standing there with him.
Well, I, for one, can't wait to see the entire movie, and if you want to check it out before, you can actually check it out at barackobama.com. We're going to try and see if we can get the rights to actually play that here for you in the coming weeks. The president also, sorry about that, the president also, not wanting to be outdone or fight the shouting matches, has actually been accused of letting gas prices go through the roof. Well, he responded to that. Take a look.
Last week, the lead story in one newspaper said, gasoline prices are on the rise and Republicans are licking their chops. That's a quote. That was the lead. Licking their chops. Only in politics do people root for bad news. Do they greet bad news so enthusiastically? You pay more, they're licking their chops. And you can bet that since it's an election year, they're already dusting off their three-point plan for $2 gas. And I'll save you the suspense. Step to drill and step 2 is to drill. And then step 3 is to keep drilling. We heard the same line in 2007 when I was running for president. We hear the same thing every year. We've heard the same thing for 30 years. Well, the American people aren't stupid. They know that's not a plan, especially since we're already drilling. That's a bumper sticker. It's not a strategy to solve our energy challenge. That's a strategy to get politicians through an election. You know there are no quick fixes to this problem. You know we can't just drill our way to lower gas prices. If we're going to take control of our energy future and can start avoiding these annual gas price spikes that happen every year when the economy starts getting better, world demand starts increasing, turmoil in the Middle East or some other parts of the world, if we're going to avoid being at the mercy of these world events, we've got to have a sustained, all of the above strategy that develops every available source of American energy. Yes, oil and gas, but also wind and solar and nuclear and biofuels and more. We need to keep developing the technology that allows us to use less oil in our cars and trucks, less energy for our buildings and our plants and our factories. That's the strategy we're pursuing, and that's the only real solution to this challenge.
It should also be noted that during President Bush's term, Republicans were singing a completely different song, saying that presidents have no control over gas prices. And guess what? They were right then, they're wrong now. Finally, one of the things that I want to point out to this is this whole thing about speculation. Right now, recent reports are actually saying that speculation is causing an extra charge of 55 cents per gallon of gasoline right now at the pump. Just something for you to think about. However, the president wasn't done yet. He took directly to Rush Limbaugh by telling reporters why he called the young college woman who was so viciously attacked by Rush. Rush calling her a slut and a prostitute, all because she wants to be able to have her insurance cover the pill. Take a look.
I don't know what's in Rush Limbaugh's heart, so I'm not going to comment on the sincerity of his apology. What I can comment on is the fact that all decent folks can agree that the remarks that were made don't have any place in the public discourse. And, you know, the reason I called Ms. Fluke is because I thought about Malia and Sasha, and one of the things I want them to do as they get older is to engage in issues they care about, even ones I may not agree with them on. I want them to be able to speak their mind in a civil and thoughtful way. And I don't want them attacked or called horrible names because they're being good citizens. And I wanted Sandra to know that that I thought her parents should be proud of her, and that we want to send a message to all our young people that being part of a democracy involves argument and disagreements and debate, and we want you to be engaged, and there's a way to do it that doesn't involve you being demeaned and insulted.
So the president and his team have certainly hit the ground running, thank goodness. Even though Republicans still haven't figured out who they want to be their nominee yet. It should be noted that a growing number of conservative activists are now saying that they should dump the presidential election and focus their efforts just on keeping control of the House and gaining control of the Senate. Columnist George Will and others are now pushing this. This is kind of what they did back to Bob Dole, but at least they waited till October for Bob Dole. You know, Bob Dole. Anyhow, but look at the time! Look at the time. My, how time flies. You know what? Since we're out of time, we have no time to talk about Joey Durrell making Rick Santorum an honorary Cajun. An honorary Cajun. You know, for all of those people that are so upset about the certain term that's being used in a song that's playing on K-Ball, You know, for those who want to preserve the Cajun culture, to preserve Cajun heritage, maybe you might want to talk to Joey Durrell about just willy-nilly handing out this title of honorary Cajun. That's probably where I'd start. But you know what? We don't have any time to talk about that. Okay, so we also don't have any time to talk about David Vitter. David Vitter, feeling ignored, I guess. This past week, he said he was outraged that teachers went to Baton Rouge to stick up for themselves, as the governor and Republicans are hell-bent on destroying everything teachers have fought so hard for. But you know what? There's no time to talk about David Vitter. There's also no time to talk about Arizona Republicans are in the process of passing a bill that would require women to divulge to their bosses whether or not they're taking the pill for contraception purposes, and if they are, the boss can fire them. Yes, that's what they're actually doing, and it did pass their Senate committee. We'll have to see what happens. Yes, there is a war on women. That is for sure. But guess what? We have no time to talk about that. We also have no time to talk about Republicans in the U.S. House are back in Washington this week, and they've got to take up the transportation bill. Want to bet that they don't pass it? I bet you they probably don't. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Good luck. Check us out on Facebook. Blue Mondays. Thanks. Good night.